There we go. Okay. So I want to thank you guys for being with us. Hi, Stacy. I want to thank James for being with us also. James and I are going to chat at the end of the session a little bit about the Wellness Symposium because we've gotten so many questions about it. He's getting DMs and I'm getting messages. And I want to make sure that we can answer any questions about it, but also give you guys a little more information about it. But this session is called Forward Together. And as you guys know, we have been using the hashtag Forward Together since about, let's see, maybe March, April. That sounded about right. When this all went down, when this pandemic hit, we tried to maintain consistency with who we are as the Powder Group and how we operate as a business and how we engage with our community and how we engage our community. So that way you guys can maintain some level of normalcy or consistency in a time that was very and is very confusing, scary, uncertain. And I've gotten lots of great feedback about how, and it means the world to me, that people were helped by that they felt that was something that helped get them to keep moving and to keep thinking instead of, struggling with the moment. And we have all struggled with the moment. We've all struggled with all these moments all year. Let's face it, 2020 was not a great year for a lot of reasons, but was also a really good year for some reasons. And what I want to do is I want to take that energy that we had at the beginning of this pandemic and the shutdowns and the lockdowns and all of the trouble that our industry and the world was facing. And I want to sort of channel that into what benefits came out of this 9 months and what we do with that. And also think forward to 2021. I am not that guy who makes a New Year's resolution and says, I'm gonna do this year. I'm that guy who just does stuff when I think I have to do it. I'm not really good with that rule of like, okay, it's January 1st, so now I'm gonna start over. But this year I'm kind of okay with making an exception about that. I feel like we all need to erase that blackboard. We need to, no one's going to get this reference except me and James. We need to shake that Etch-a-Sketch and clear that screen so we can start over, right? And if you don't know what an Etch-a-Sketch is, look it up. They're amazing and much more difficult than you would think they are for being a child's toy. But I'm giving us permission as a community, and I'm giving myself permission to say, fuck you 2020, we're done now. And now I'm breaking up with you and there's a new year in my life. I am seeing a new year. He is sexy and he's smart and he's driven and focused. And I am so excited about 2021. But what we can't do is we can't go forward without really analyzing and thinking about what we've been doing. Because to be very honest, we're not out of this yet. And so we need to be able to keep the momentum that we have been building, add that to an unseen momentum that we have not gotten to yet, and make a plan, right? We need to make a plan. So I want to start by giving everybody on this session a lot of credit. I'm going to give you a lot of credit. Some of you I've only known since this pandemic. We've never met in person. I've told this story so many times, I'm tired of saying it, and you guys are tired of hearing me say it, but I have literally had conversations with people said, I can't wait to see you again. And they said, I can't wait to meet you. And I'm like, how do we not know each other? Because we've only engaged on Zooms and we've only engaged online. And that's what this has become, right? We have been able as a community, because you guys are stepping up, to maintain and grow relationships. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But give yourself a lot of credit for just being here, getting to this point. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff about what happened in 2020 and what came from it and what we can do with it. Try to unpack that a little bit. And then we're going to think about how we move forward together, because we're a community and that's what we do. I want to start, and there's going to be, if you don't have a paper and pen or you don't have something to write with, get it. Because I'm going to say a lot of things like write this down. I want you to write this down or write these 3 things down. So I'm going to give you a second if you don't. There's your second. And I want you to, for a minute, close your eyes And imagine it is February 1st, 2020. We're already giving up on all of our New Year's resolutions. That's why I don't make them. It's February. We stop thinking about those things. We have a plan. 2020 has something in store for us. I know this community, and 2020 had great things in store. You had great plans for 2020, didn't you? 2020, I say 2020 was going to be my bitch. 2020 was literally boom, boom, boom. We were going to do online. We were doing these things. We were going to introduce another new product. It was going to be amazing. I was doing a third issue of On Makeup Magazine that was going to be a different focus that we're not going to do now. So I'm not going to talk about it. But I had such great plans for 2020. And then all this went down. So then I had to ask myself, because literally overnight, like when lockdown happened, literally overnight, my business cut in half. Any potential revenue cut in half immediately. I'm not talking about, will people come to something I do? Can we do something? Is it going to be digital? Is it not? I mean, stuff that I counted on was absolutely positively gone for the year. Advertising, sponsorships, other things, because everyone was in this place of uncertainty. So I had a choice to make right then. I could have very easily said, well, we are a business built on creating relationships, creating community, producing events, getting together in person. Our brands count on us to bring people together in order to celebrate them as brands. How can I possibly operate this business if I can't gather? I could have easily said, well, I guess I've got to take a pause. I've got to take a break. And I guess I'll just keep my fingers crossed that I'm gonna be able to get through this and come out the other side whenever that is. And then I was doing a coaching, and I was doing a one-on-one with an artist, and she said, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, well, I understand that. She goes, no, I mean, I've been struggling so much as a makeup artist already. I don't know if this added layer is gonna wipe me out. And I said, okay, then we have only one question to ask. We have to ask yourself one question. And that one question will determine whether we should continue doing coaching, whether you should go look for another job. And I started to ask her about her passion. Are you passionate? Do you love this? And I was like, oh my God, that's like literally what I talk to students about. This is a bigger thing than that. I said, which is it going to be? The question I asked, which is it? I'm going to use Lisa Smith as the name. That wasn't her name. In 2021, am I going to think about Lisa Smith, who is a makeup artist, or am I going to think about Lisa Smith, who used to be a makeup artist? Just make that decision. Which do you want it to be? If it's Lisa Smith, who used to be a makeup artist, that's fine. That's terrific. We know that sometimes, we joke about the bridal program. At the end of our bridal program, 2 or 3 people go, I'm so glad I took this program. I am 100% sure now I don't want to do bridal. Sometimes the process gets you to the answer that maybe isn't the answer you thought you were going for. So I said, if this discussion means that you can save yourself months of agonizing and months of challenge and months of difficulty so that you can then struggle and to start over again, then I'm happy we're having this conversation. And Lisa Smith said, I have to think about it. And I said, great. I said, message me when you've thought about it. And then she messaged me 2 days later, and she goes, Michael, I'd like to introduce you to Lisa Smith, who is a makeup artist. And I said, excellent, great. When are we scheduling the rest of that coaching call? Because I want to get you back on the phone, and now let's keep moving. So what you guys have to do, and I thought of this myself. I said, okay, this is the beginning of this. I can shut it down or I keep going. So I can decide after 17 years that in 2021, there used to be a company called The Powder Group. There used to be a magazine called On Makeup Magazine. There used to be a community called TPG Pro, or I can commit and do everything I have to do to make sure that in 2021, I am clearly and loudly saying, I am The Powder Group. We are The Powder Group. I own a company called The Powder Group for 17 years, going on 18. I am on Makeup Magazine for almost 13 years. That is what I decided to do in 2021. So I know the answer for you guys because you're here, and because I've seen you throughout this time. I've seen you over and over again. I've seen you in the beginning when we were doing career goal setting exercises. I've seen you for our creative programs. I've seen you for business evolution. I've seen you for coaching. And so I know you're in it, but I also know, because we talk, that you're getting really, really tired of this. You are getting exhausted. You're getting really stressed out, waking up each morning to figure out whether you can go and work or not, whether your state or your county is going to go into shutdown for your area of business or whether it's not, whether we are going to have another uptick or it's going to start to go down. I know you are exhausted. I'm exhausted. I know James is exhausted. I know Stacy is exhausted. We are exhausted. I posted on my personal page a couple weeks ago, I know you're tired of COVID, but COVID isn't tired of you. So wear a fucking mask and stay the fuck home. And it's true. We're all tired of this, but it's not gone yet and it's not going anywhere. So make that decision. Do you have it in you? Do you have it in you, Juanita? Do you have it in you to keep pushing, right? We have to ask ourselves, does Roxy have it in her to keep pushing, to keep waking up not knowing, to keep waking up and going, I have no idea if next week I'm not going to be able to do the jobs I have scheduled. Oh my God, production went back in place. Sue knows this, being out in LA. Production's back in, but now everybody's talking about, is there going to be another shutdown because Los Angeles County's shutting down, all these other things, and Atlanta's going on. We've got to think about how ready we are. So this is why we're doing this session. We're doing this session because I want you guys to wake up tomorrow and be confident and committed to the fact that you are going to do this job in 2021. And you are committed to doing everything it takes. Do you know how many phone calls with brands and sponsors and presenters I've had over the last 9 months? I will say this, I spoke more to my brands in the last 9 months than I probably did in the last 2 or 3 years, because I wanted to make sure I was doing everything I could to take care of them and doing what they needed. We produced more programming in the last 9 months, 70 artists, almost 50 programs, 50 days of programming, 70 artists, 70 presenters, more than we've ever produced in a year, never mind in 9 months during a pandemic, because I knew I had to do everything it took to make sure my business was alive and moving forward. So we're going to talk now. And some of this is, I'm not going to ask you to answer everything in a chat, and I'm not going to ask you to speak at all. You're not going to have to say anything, but be as honest as you can to yourself, because when you write something down, you are saying to yourself, this is what really happened. Okay. So when 2020 came in January 2020, I want you to write down what one of your, like, maybe it's 2 or 3 things. Maybe it's one thing. Melissa's with Lime Life. Maybe she said, I want to have, 10 new people within my group. Whatever it is, what was the thing in January that you wanted for your business? What were you going to accomplish in 2020? Take a minute and write that down. Write down as many things as you can think about. As many things as you can think of. I was going to start a Birchbox-ish subscription service for you guys and do like a monthly TPG Pro thing with all of our brand things, like we do the TPG Pro kits that we do, but regular, like quarterly or monthly. And that was a big plan. I was writing Getting Next. I was doing that and 10 words in audio so you could listen to it. Yes, Wendy, you can hear my voice while you sleep. What were you going to do in 2020? Where were you going to be in 2020? Where were you going to be? Were you going to be where you are now? Are you where you are now because you had to stay because of the pandemic and the shutdowns and the challenges to our careers and our businesses? Are you where you are now because you had to move? You had to move back home. You had to move in with a friend. You had to move somewhere else because you couldn't do it anymore on your own, or you couldn't be in that place anymore, or you felt unsafe because it was just too much to be in Manhattan or Chicago. So you wanted to get back to a place that was less frenetic during a pandemic. Where are you now? Where were you then? Were you supposed to be where you are now? Who are your clients going to be? Who are the clients that you are going to be working with? We had a big plan. Stacy Robinson can tell you this. We had a lot of stuff in the works for creating new brand relationships and partnerships, because there's a lot of brands that love the Powder Group in our community, and there's some that just don't know all that we offer and what we do. So we had a great plan of communication, a really cool booklet I was doing that was going to be so sexy. And I'm like, oh, that's sort of out of touch. Setting brands a thing that says, hi, we're the Powder Group, and we'd love you to commit to our community, and we're here to commit to you. By the way, sorry about the pandemic. So a whole lot of stuff got messed up, didn't it? Whole lot of stuff. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at those things. And now this is a hard question to ask yourself. Is there anything that you didn't do within those realms that you could have done even though it was a pandemic? Did you just, and maybe the answer is no, I hope it's no. Did you say, okay, well, I wanted to do these monthly Pro Pack subscription, we're broken by the whole year, the monthly charge. I wanted to do it, but now I just cut it completely. Or did I do anything to start that process in case I do want to do it in 2021? Well, you guys know we just did a TPG Pro Pack offer about 2 months ago. To put that in your head, this is something we offer. So that way, if I do it, so I did something, although I didn't do it all. I didn't do a thing on Getting Next. I didn't write one additional word on that, not one. I have the outline done at the beginning of the year, nothing else happened. Because it was going to launch at the Makeup Show New York. And then that didn't happen, right? So I was like, well, if I'm not going to do that, I'll wait till next year. And then, well, blah, 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 blah. Excuse. So what was 2020 supposed to be? What were you going to accomplish? Where were you going to be? Who were your clients? And did you do anything to help that along? Did you do anything to help that along during the pandemic? I want to talk about those same things that you just wrote down, and I want you to answer this question to yourself. Are these still relevant for me going into 2021? Are these still relevant for me going into 2021? Or am I holding on to something that is just doesn't make any sense at all? Because to be very honest, it is going to be second quarter, or let's say by summer, before things start to feel, if everyone gets vaccinated, if everything happens this way it should, if herd immunity happens, whatever happens, it's going to be summer, guys, before we're going to be starting to shift back to, I don't feel like I have to cross the street when someone's walking toward me, even though we're both wearing masks. We're going to start getting to a place where we are feeling more confident. But that's only if everything keeps going in the right direction, once it starts going in the right direction. So ask yourself, with that in mind, because that's the reality, we like living in reality at the Powder Group, do these still make sense? Okay, if they don't, do they make sense for where you are now, where you want to go for later? If, you know, the proverbial back burner, sometimes I just say, take it off the stove. Don't put it on the back burner. Take it off the stove. Put the pan away, put everything in Tupperware, throw it in the fridge, and then when you're ready, then take it out and put it on the burner. But if you're not even going to think about it yet, if this doesn't make sense for you now because of where we're at, then why are you holding on to it? Why is it in your head? Because I don't have a lot of space up here. I got a lot going on. So what I don't want to do, I don't want to hold on to things that just simply don't make sense. Because then what do we feel? We feel like we're not accomplishing what we set out to accomplish. We feel like, if only the pandemic, if only I could. Well, the if only doesn't matter. It's what is, not what could be in that case. We have to be realistic. So ask yourself, do those things make sense? Do they make sense? And then we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the reality of 2020. The reality of 2020. Also, excellent job, you guys, of not over chatting in the chat box. Thank you. For those of you who joined us, I ask that we keep all of our comments in there to either answering questions that I have posed to you guys and say, please drop that in the chat. Or if you have a question for me, you're welcome to do that. And hopefully I'll keep an eye on it. And that's why I don't want a lot of back and forth between you guys in there, because that will make it difficult for me to catch a question, okay? So none of these are sarcastic questions. These are all real questions. I want you to write down. In fact, write it down, but if you feel like sharing, I want you to drop something in the chat. What good came from this year for you? What good came from this year for you? Something. Because I'll tell you, I've seen it out there. Micro weddings, education, mental growth, new connections, new ideas, family, home, the Mentors Project, Jenny Thomas, absolutely. Debbie Zoller kicked it out of the park with that one. Kicked it, knocked it. Got a dog. Wait a minute. Mandy got a dog and bought a house and has a husband? Wait a minute. Oh, should I say that? Hi, Mandy. Great Christmas tree. Tommy's adorable. If you've not seen Mandy's husband, he is the sweetest thing in the whole wide world. Education, endurance, spiritual and creative growth, education. Became a blogger, Juanita. It's my girl. Finding TPG. Thank you, Aaron. Glad you found us. Working out. That was my goal. I'm not gonna lie. I was all excited for some workout time, but then I've spent all my time in front of Zooms and prepping people for Zooms. This is great. Doing the cover of California Wedding Day magazine. Amazing, Natalia. Professional education. So what a shitty year, huh? Shitty year. But we can find the stuff that was good if we're really thinking about it, can't we? It's going, keeps going. We're dropping more. We're dropping more. Aberdeen, did you get one in there? I don't know. Did Aaron, who else? Mandy had one? J-Co? Do you have something good that happened this year you dropped in there? Cassandra got 2 commercial jobs. No one's even working and Cassandra got 2 jobs. It's a lockdown. It's a shutdown and Cassandra got 2 jobs. Imagine what else could happen. It's kind of cool, right? Vivian, I'm parallel to you now, Vivian. I'm going to just take a drive right over to you in Vermont. We're going to do some holistic energy stuff together. Or you can come over to Saratoga Springs after the pandemic. After. Amazing. Brattleshoe, taking the time to restart and reset. Absolutely. This is what we're doing right now, right? I want you to add something to that. I want you to add, these are things that came from it. I want you to think differently now. I want you to think personally. Okay. A lot of those were career. Okay. Some of them were energetic. Melissa, great, deeper, and real, all caps, real. That's a good one, isn't it? Real connections, real relationships. Some of these things are a little bit personal and they're also business. Some are really focused on business. This is what I did. This is what I accomplished. I got education. I want you to give yourself some credit now. And I want you to drop in the chat and write down for yourself something or all the things you did right. What did you do right this year? What did you do that was good? Think about that. I know what I did. I know what I did right. I sat in front of this computer a lot of days to make sure that I was maintaining my community and I was moving things forward. And I, from a selfish standpoint, need to do that because what? Otherwise, I don't have a business in 2021. And in February, I decided that I was going to have a business in 2021. Being present, keep learning, pivot, that word, revamped, self-education, focused on yourself, wellness, left a toxic relationship. What better time than a pandemic to say, get the fuck out? I'm not gonna lie, good timing, Jen. Can I just say, Hands up to all the moms who are homeschooling and all the dads who are homeschooling. What you did right was you got to be a teacher this year. And you didn't even fucking want that shit, did you? No, you did not want that. No, you did not. I don't know one mother or one father who said, I'm so excited that I get to stay and teach my children instead of them going to school. Nobody. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job with it, but that's a lot. Better communication. Became more active in social justice. Absolutely important. Amazing. Reading. All these things. What did you do right? Okay, so now I'm going to turn it around a little bit. I want you to write down something that was a miss, something you didn't do right. You don't have to share. You don't have to share if you don't want to share. Maybe it's personal, maybe it's professional, maybe it's a career moment that didn't happen, but think about it. Think about it. What was a miss? What was something, think of this way maybe, what was something that at the beginning of the year, or the beginning of the pandemic, I should say, you said, well, you know what? This is crazy and I'm scared, but you know what? This is going to give me time to fill in the blank if you didn't do it. It was going to give me time to work out. Didn't happen. Nope. It was going to give me time to getting next written. It was going to give me time to get another social media channel, which is called Pics I Forgot to Post, which I told one of my business evolution programs about. And I started that during the pandemic. I'm like, oh my God, I've got all these old pictures from trips and Asia and all these things. And they're really cool images. And I've never done anything with them. They're not like Instagram-y. And I'm like, oh, I'll start a whole new thing. I did it for like 2 days and then like picked it up again a month later and haven't gone back. There's a lot of misses. Missed on social media. Okay, this is, okay, spend more time on your photography. Didn't do that. Didn't do that. Aaron, I hear you. Can't feel crazy about being safe. Can't feel crazy about being safe. I want you to look at those things that were a miss for you. I want you to look at those things that were a miss for you. I know some of y'all learned to bake bread. That's fascinating. I know some of you guys started painting. A lot of you took the creative exploration workshops. And I saw some beautiful artwork on our page. But it's really easy to get overwhelmed. It is no secret. I like a cocktail. I love my gin. I love my martini. And if I told you there was not maybe 3 days since the pandemic started that I did not have a martini, I would not be exaggerating. And I'm like, it's a pandemic. I get to have a martini at the end of the day. It's a pandemic. I'm working hard. It's a pandemic. It's uncertain. It's a pandemic. We can come up with the reasons, but I'll tell you what I could have done instead of having a martini. I could have written Getting Next. I could have written Getting Next. I could have put a plan together to put that subscription series together, but I didn't because I was doing a lot. I've been busy. We've all been spinning, right? I'm looking at this room. There's nobody in this session who sat back and did nothing during this time. You guys have been hustling. You guys have been hustling. So the idea of what was a miss does not mean bad on you. What it means is, was that a real miss? Or is it just something you kind of thought, hey, I'm going to get this done? Was it strategic? Or was it something that was to fill space and fill time, right? Because let me explain something. You did a whole bunch of stuff right. You had a whole bunch of good come from 2020, even though it was a really shit year on so many levels. Are those misses, or are they just things that weren't important enough? Are they things that simply became not important enough for you to take time away from the other things that you were doing because you've all been busy? So I want to think about this too. I want you guys to think about maybe one thing. And some of you posted this. This is all, again, this is all about trying to, you kind of look back on a bad situation. You go, well, what good was there in it? This relationship, this business partner, I learned this, I did this, right? So let me ask you this. Was there something that you did or you learned to do or you accomplished during the last 9 months that you have always thought was out of reach? That you were always thinking to yourself, if I could, I would, but I just don't think I can accomplish that. Or I just don't think I'm good enough, or I don't think I'm smart enough, or I don't know how to build a website properly. Is there anything you did or something you learned to do that you thought was out of reach? If not, did you start thinking about something that maybe was one of those misses? I'm telling you, I signed up. They were having on, not Babbel, the other language one, Rosetta Stone. They were having it was like a $99 lifetime thing. And the masterclass online thing was having like a $100 all you can watch thing. And I was like, signed up for both. I didn't watch a single masterclass. I didn't start to learn a single language, but those were misses and they are important to me to do. So those now are things that I did want to accomplish, are not out of reach, but I just need to circle them back into the plan, right? So we've talked about what good came. We've talked about what you did that was right. We talked about anything that you maybe thought was out of reach for you that you accomplished, in which case, bravo. If you just managed to stay in it, if you just managed to get here to December 13th on this Forward Together program and still wake up and say, I'm a makeup artist, then bravo to you as well. That's a huge accomplishment, isn't it? It's a huge accomplishment. I'm going to ask another question because this is a selfish question. Before we start talking about 2021, I want to ask a selfish question. What were some tools you used personally to keep your shit together, to get to this place? What were some tools you learned, you used to make sure that you stayed focused? Thank you, Anne. Cassandra, I think the same thing. TPG and therapists sometimes kind of go hand in hand, don't they? Right? This is good, right? If we don't allow us go Christian. Hey, you got to do what you got to do, friend. You got to do what you got to do. Yoga, chocolate, Allegra, me too. Oh, Amberine said that. These are moving fast. Dorothy, yes. Just don't ever reduce your screen time and not see me because I miss you. Art, daily meditation, mentors and meditation, a lot of walking. I've walked an hour. I walk on about an hour a day. Weather doesn't matter. I try to walk an hour a day and try to keep my phone off. Lifting heavy weights, all the classes. Thank you. Well, thank you. It means a lot to me to have you guys say that TPG was a big part of it for you. I didn't ask that question to get gratitude from you, but I appreciate that. But you can watch all the stuff you want and you can participate in all these great programs and then do nothing with it, but you guys are doing stuff with it. So we're all tools that support each other, right? I did not do that one. I did not do the stop drinking one, Stacy. You know that. You know that for a fact. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Meditation is a big one. Walking. The reason I'm asking this question is these are things that some of you didn't do before. Because I know I've had conversations with some of you write in meditation and you didn't do that before. You use this time to find ways to recenter and to refocus in ways that can make a difference for you. I think that I'm excited about the wellness session next week. I'm excited to participate as a participant in it. We'll talk about that at the end of the session a little bit more. But I think that it's been so important for us this last year to make sure that we do take the time. If you are homeschooling your kids, Rachel Goodwin, Victoria Bowers, these artists who've presented for us for beautiful makeup in the career. I had so many great conversations with each of them about homeschooling and how crazy it is, but they still took that time for you and for themselves to celebrate this industry in their career, because you've got to take that time when you're working so hard and focus on so much. I love what Ms. Onichen said, checking in with your strong friends, checking in with your strong friends. So before I move into how we're thinking about 2021, because I think this, if I was not knowing what we were talking about, and you're going to get a rewatch for this. So I want you to go to the rewatch, and I want you to start at the beginning of those chats where I asked you about what you did right and what good came out of this year. And, what was something you accomplished you didn't think you could. I want you to pretend we weren't talking about life during a pandemic. And I want you to read through the chat, because I'm going to do it too. And I want you to look at how much we as a community and you guys individually have accomplished in this year. It's kind of mind-blowing. I'm going to ask you this, and I don't want you to drop this in the chat. I don't want you to drop this in the chat. I want you to write down, and you have to write down something. What was your most difficult moment of this year, of this period? We can't even say of the pandemic. This year has been the pandemic. January and February were fun. I got to hang out with Jaspina in LA. We got to do the Scandinavia event. I got to go to ISSE. Then it all went, right? So this year, what was the most difficult moment for you? I'm not asking you to share it. I'd like you not to put that in the chat. I want you to own that personally. Just own it personally. And now I want you to write down. I'm not going to say what you learned. I'm going to say, did you learn something from it? I'm not going to insist that you had to have learned something from that, but ask yourself, did I learn something from that moment? Maybe that moment had nothing to do with COVID or the pandemic. Maybe it was just a personal thing or something in your life or whatever. But what was the most difficult moment of this year, and what did you learn from it? If you couldn't think of something that you learned from it, that could be the case. Maybe it was just a shit moment. Maybe it was just something that really didn't go your way. Something unexpected, something negative, something disappointing, something sad. But if it was something that you could learn something from, and especially if it was something that had to do with this pandemic and the things that we're all dealing with this year, I want you to put that into the chat. Just the thing you learned, just the thing that you learned from it. If there was a positive thing that you feel like you were able to take away from that difficult moment. Preparing for everything. Jacqueline, that's a pretty big one, right? Because especially if we don't know what's coming next. Tomorrow's a new day. Don't sweat the small stuff. I'm terrible with that one, Wendy. I'm not going to lie. I sweat all the small stuff. I don't know if it's going to change. Oh, Despina, how resilient I am. You learn how resilient you are. Did anybody else learn how resilient you are? Raise your hand if you thought, shit, I got through this. I got through this. Did you read social media posts with people who were having a hard time, but didn't seem to be doing anything to try to help themselves and felt like there was always a reason that they couldn't try to focus on the positive? Did you read those social media posts, and did it make you feel bad? I'm not saying this in a negative way. Did you feel sorry for that person, even though you wanted to try to help? Maybe you did try to help, but you thought to yourself, you gotta be a little more malleable. We're all scared to death. We're all scared we're not going to work again. I'm scared. I'll be honest with you guys. We got through 2021. Thank goodness for our sponsors. Thank goodness for you guys coming to the front of that line to say, let's do some stuff. I don't know if all my sponsors and advertisers are going to be able to come back and do it the same level of support next year, because now they've been through this for the year, right? They've been through this crazy. I don't know what next year brings, but I know what I learned this year. And I know what I did differently this year and how that will affect what I do going forward. I think I'm just skimming over these. The idea of relationships and connectivity, and the ideas of safe space are coming into this a lot, right? Right? When you had that difficult time, realizing who those people were that you could count on is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal. Okay, so a lot of positive in there, a lot of positive. Even that difficult moments question results in positive. Being able to ask for help, Chris, absolutely, right? Being able to ask for help is a thing that we have a hard time doing sometimes. Now I want to talk forward. This is called Forward Together. So the great majority of this discussion has been and will have been thinking about 2020, because we're all down on 2020 and we're all like, oof. And we don't know what's going to happen yet for 2021, do we? But I want you to go back to that first thing I asked you to write down, which was, what did you want this year to be? What did you want from this year? What did you want to accomplish? What did you want to make happen? Ula, I know you were starting a a deeper, broader education program, and then COVID happened. I know a lot of your plans, guys, because we all talk a lot, right? You've been in programs, we share. So now I want to say, thinking about as we move forward and understanding there's still a lot of uncertainty, and we can only plan, we can only plan for best case scenario, right? I want to plan for the best case scenario, but be prepared if it's not the best case scenario. Does that make sense? Plan for the best case scenario, but be prepared for it not to be, right? What happened with 2020 is this came out of nowhere. No one knew where Wuhan was until March. And then all of a sudden, this thing that we were like, oh, it's in China. And then we heard about something in Brooklyn. And then we heard about this, and we're going, wait a minute. And then all of a sudden, we were unprepared, and it slammed us. We were unprepared as humans. We were unprepared as businesses. We were unprepared as husbands and wives and parents and children. We were unprepared. But now, what's the difference? Now we are prepared. Now we know what to expect, right? We know what to expect. We know what we have to do differently. We spend a whole lot of time figuring out how to work safely. We've spent a whole lot of time understanding how we can move forward as a community and understand social justice issues in a bigger way. We spent a lot of time, but now we have that under our belts. We are ready to move forward, and we are prepared for the worst case or the best case scenario. So isn't that a better place to be than last year? It certainly is. So I want you to look at those things you talked about. And I want you to ask yourself that question I asked you to think about before. Are these things still relevant? Are those things you want to accomplish, are they still relevant? If they are relevant, then I want you to circle it or put a star next to it. If they do not make sense now, so they're going to go Tupperware, fridge, or back burner. If they don't make sense for now, cross them off, scribble it off, take it off, completely gone. If it's not going to make sense, just don't think about it anymore. Get it out of your head, out of your sight line. Do not put it in your energy, because it's not necessary, because you've got a lot of focusing to do right now. You have a lot of stuff to do. I see Angelique with us, and I will say this. Angelique Velez, if you have not been paying attention to breakups to makeups in this pandemic, one would think that it was not a pandemic, but it was the best year of business ever for anyone and everyone. Absolutely amazing. Every time I turn around, this businesswoman, this amazing human is blowing it up. that should be an inspiration to everyone here, that you do not sit back and make excuses. You hustle, because 2021, there was either going to be a breakups to make up or there wasn't. And I know how much blood, sweat, and tears has gone into breakups to make up. And I know for a fact that that is going nowhere. If you look at Rebels and Outlaws and you think about what James and Jeremy have done over this past year, introducing the Witch Box, introducing all these new candles, and working so hard to support our community through his mindful action program at the Powder Group, making a difference for other people. That is how you step up, and that is how you make sure there's a Rebels and Outlaws in 2021. Because you don't sit back and say, well, I'm helpless, I have nothing to do. We can all do this. You might not be selling a cool bag, you might not be selling a candle or wellness programming, but what you are doing is important and will be important. Ain't nobody need any more bags from Angelique, because you know what? We all got a bag from Angelique and we ain't going on a job right now. Where are we putting them? What we putting in it? Well, I'm putting all kinds of my stuff into my Angelique's bags, and we're going to go back to work. So we've got to focus on how we do that. So all the planning that Angelique had going on at the beginning of the year, and sorry for throwing this all out there, Angelique, I'm only making an assumption from watching you. We've never had a conversation about this. Although I do owe you an email. I saw that, sorry. Do you think that Angelique had some stuff planned for this year that got screwed up? I bet she did. And do you think that everything she was trying to do, she got to accomplish? Probably not. But did she pivot? That word I don't love, but it's the thing. Did she evolve? Did she move? Did she shift her thoughts and her perspective to make sure that she was doing the right thing and she was making the right decisions to keep her brand moving forward? That's what you have to do. So those things that you thought about, to be honest, makes no difference to me whether or not you keep them on that list or you move them off the list or you start something else or you don't. But what you've got to do is you've got to come up with an entirely new thought process on figuring out what's important. In the beginning of the pandemic, we had a lot of you guys on this, on the goal setting session that I did. And then a lot of you took that into the further steps down the road, and I partnered you up and we did all kinds of cool stuff. I want you, if you did that program, I want you to pull that paperwork out. Now, right now, I want you to pull it out. I want you to pull all your goal setting exercises out that you did, all your team exercises you did. I want you to pull it out. I want you to read everything you wrote down. Everything you wrote down. Read it again. And ask yourself, what did you accomplish and what did you do? I don't want to talk too much about that because only a percentage of you guys were on that program. But this isn't about setting goals. This is about survival. This isn't an exercise. This is your life. I am so impressed with this community and how you have stepped up, not only for yourselves, but each other. And I'm going to give you permission for the rest of this year, for the next few weeks, before we kick off 2021 in the best way we possibly can with so much uncertainty still out there. And I'm going to give you permission to focus on you more than focusing on everybody else. I'm going to give you permission energetically and physically. I'm not giving you a task after this program to connect with someone to help them. I'm giving you permission and begging you, focus on you and getting you to your next place. So how do we do that? I'm going to give you a few ideas. I want you to try to add 3 things to your 2020 plan that, okay, so let's say you wrote down 3 things, and let's say you crossed one of them off just now, and you've got 2 that were planned at the beginning of this year. They were my 2020 stuff, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, yes, those 2 things are important for me, okay? Now, I want you, I'm gonna give you literally like 30 seconds. Write down 2 or 3 more things that are not related to those things. Things, maybe something that you saw in the chat. You're like, oh, that was a good idea. That's a good idea. Or that's cool. Or think about what are some unrelated things. What are some things that maybe are completely out of reach? Completely out of reach. But don't have it be, I want to buy a boat, or I want to do something energetically. Make it physical. Make it a thing for your business. I'll tell you one thing I crossed off. I'm not going to do the subscription service for the pro kits anymore. That's just that's done. We're still going to offer the pro kits a couple times a year. We'll do them at live events once those are back. Makeup Show New York, hopefully in May. But I'm not. That's crossed off. That's done because I've got other stuff now that I've got to take care of and other things I need to do. Otherwise, I'm going to be creating programming that will support you guys and allow our sponsors to connect to you in a meaningful way. So I've got my plan going. What is your plan? So that's the first step, right? Figure out that stuff. And then I need you to define your plan. And I need you to define your plan and understand the way you thought about your business at the beginning of 2020. Is it the same way you think about your business in 2021? Is it the same thing? Maybe you're going to open a studio. Maybe you're going to open a space, right? And then now you're like, girl, I ain't opening no space. That's just, I don't need to be dealing with that stuff. Too much. But what are you doing instead? What are you doing instead? What is your plan? What does your business look like right now? I've got people on this call who don't care anything about doing makeup, who are here because they're doing stuff that is their vision and their future and their path. And what you need to do is you need to define that plan, and then you need to sort out the steps or your process, right? What are the steps? What's the process that'll help that plan come to reality? And then you have to be realistic. Be realistic. Be realistic. You're not going to accomplish in 6 months of a hopefully recovering pandemic period what you could accomplish in a normal 6 months, right? But can you accomplish certain things that you wouldn't have been able to accomplish during that time? I don't know. But sort out the steps, sort out the process. Then you have to ask yourself this: who needs to be in this plan? Like, who do I need in this mix? And who, this sounds tough. Ooh, he's getting tough now. Who's out? Who's in the way? Sounds like I'm being mean, right? I'm not. You got to figure out who's in the mix and who needs to not be in the mix. That's not selfish at all. It's survival. It's development and growth. I certainly don't feel that you should be get all your relationships, scribble them off, and then start over again. There are relationships that help you move forward. There are relationships that help you develop yourself. There are things that help you stay focused, and there are things that do the opposite of all those things, right? Decide who needs to be in the plan, who needs to be involved in the process, and who doesn't. I want you to, first off, I'm so impressed that I'm literally on time. Like I was like, I'm going to go way over, but I'm not. I was like, I'm doing an hour in and out. I want you to think about this. Some of you talked about this already. Thank you, Rachel. Some of you talked about this already when you were talking about things that you did well and strengthening relationships and figuring out who was supportive of you and who should be supported back and forth with. But I want you to right now, don't drop them in the chat. I want you to write down 3 people that you have relied on this year, that you have relied on, you and them. There's been a thing that's helped you get through it. 3 people. If you've only got 2, write down 2. If you got 1, write that 1 down. Then I want you to write down the people that you thought, how many of you guys have thought, oh my God, how has 8 months of pandemic gone by and I have not even jumped on a Zoom to have a cup of coffee with this person, right? They're so important to me and I've not checked in enough. Like we said, hey, are you okay at the beginning? And then we both hustled and both been busy. So write down anyone that you feel you should have been connecting with more. You missed the opportunity to make sure you stayed connected. You jumped, I get these emails and I send these emails all the time. Hey, I can't believe that it's been 6 months since we last spoke. I know how busy you've been. We've both been hustling. I get it. You get it. Ain't nobody on this session, ain't nobody I know sitting around bored and lazy. Everyone's trying and working really hard. So, but write down 3 people that you should have connected more with. And then I want you to think, is there anybody that I didn't connect with at all? I didn't even check in with them. Like, it's literally been, we locked down, we opened, we closed, everything's canceled. We can't fly, we can, wear a mask, social distance, Thanksgiving is canceled, but I haven't even reached out to this person. Think about that. And if you can't think of the person now, write down, who didn't I connect with? Who did I not speak to at all? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the time after this session, so I'm not going to run long, to send 3 text messages or emails to thank those 3 people that you've relied on this year to getting you to this place. I want you to send 3 messages that just say thank you, or tell them, Michael's making me write this, whatever you need to, but let them know that you appreciate and that they helped you. The people that you did not connect enough with, I want you to write a note as well. I want you to write a note that says, I was just in a program and we talked about the people that are important to us that we have not spent enough time connecting with during this really challenging time. And I just want to reach out and say, I'm thinking of you. Let's try to get on a call this week. And make it a call, because nobody want to sit in front of Zoom anymore. So just jump on a phone. You can put speakerphone, put your headset in, walk around the block, do your exercise. That's what I do. Stacy, can you pray? Everybody knows I just put my headset on. I do my walk. I don't need to look at anybody except when we're doing a program. Thank those people, to let them know that you can't believe it and you really need more time with them. And I promise it's going to help. And those people that you didn't connect with at all, don't do anything. Do you know why? Because I promise you this. When I said who needs to be in the plan, who doesn't need to be in the plan, if you have not reached out and they have not reached out in the most challenging and frustrating and difficult time in our lifetimes, in the, quite honestly, probably the history of the planet, in most of our perspectives, if neither of you thought it was an important moment to connect with the other, I'm kind of thinking it's okay. Don't waste the energy. I'm not saying break up with anybody, but I'm just saying, if you're going to have limited time in the next few weeks to focus on you and helping you move forward, strengthen the relationships that are important to you, make sure that they know they are important to you, and don't try to pick up the pieces that were sitting around falling apart before, because they're probably not going to make any difference to you going forward. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about really quickly, and literally it's 3:00. I'm so good. Once you get all that done, and once you talk through all these things and you think about all the stuff that's got to be happening moving forward, who are the relationships that you need to have in your path to move forward? Who are the partners, the business partners, the brands, the clients, the assistants, the leaders of our industry, the therapists? Who are the people that you're going to have help you move forward? You've communicated that, you've energetically committed to that. What I want you to do is I want you to realize that, and I hate to talk about social media in this context, but I need you to make sure people know that you're doing okay. People know you're moving forward. People know you are surrounded by support. People know that you got this. Might not have the answers, but you got this. You ain't going nowhere. 2021 is going to be an important year. 2021 is not going to be your best year ever. Because if 2021 is your best year ever and you're hustling really hard during a pandemic and then you stop hustling hard when everything's okay again, that's not what I'm asking for. I want you to make 2021 a solid year. I want you to come into 2020 knowing that it's going to be a solid year. I want you to show the community, show the world, show everybody out there that you have this under control and you've got this, that you're a strong business. You can do that through social media. You can do that through email. You can do that through text messaging. You can do that through phone calls. You can do that in a Zoom meeting with your folks. But what I want you to do is I want you to make sure there's an evolution happening for you that is visible. I want you to make sure that you're showing you're getting great education and you're taking this time to learn and do this. What, how many of you guys have seen, like I click CNN every day, and this is the time of year, all the news and all the people do like a year in pictures, right? A year in pictures. You know what I don't want to look at? This fucking year again. I just don't. I want to think forward. But what I do want to do is I want to share with people, and I've got my grid of all of my presenters from this year ready to post and thank them. I've got my brands ready to post and thank them and say, thank you for being here this year. I've got all my pictures ready to go for my end of year stuff about what we did as a community, how we support each other, thanking Aaron Kruger McCash, thanking V. Neal, thanking Patty Dubroff, thanking all of these great presenters, thanking James Vincent, thanking the Makeup Show for doing a virtual show and helping us stay together, connected as a community. I've got that already. I'm not saying don't think back, but think about the great things that you've accomplished and share them. This is the time of year that we go back in and we think about what was accomplished. And then if we can show people around us that we did a solid on 2020, we accomplished, because nobody's watching your social media all day. I mean, my mother's looking at my Facebook every day, but still, like literally no one's watching every move you make. Tell them what you did this year. Let them know how much you accomplished. Even if it's just 20 Zoom classes, that's you making an effort, right? So I mean this very sincerely. I am grateful that you guys found the Powder Group a good place to be this year. I'm grateful that you found, and I am grateful for the messages that shared this with me, that our programs have helped you, that our programs have helped you get through this. I'm grateful to our presenters and our sponsors, but I'm really, really grateful to our community. Because if I have sponsors and I have presenters, but you don't care about each other or yourselves, then I really have no reason to be here and they have nothing to do, right? So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm grateful. I'm excited about 2021. We have an amazing program for you, including because I'm calling it because it's still a pandemic series. I think I'll just call it because it's still a pandemic series, and it's going to be free. Lots of free programs in January. You guys like free programs? Yay, free. Who doesn't love a free program? But not free is James Vincent, Sarah Regano, Stacey Robinson, and Aureli Flores next Sunday. So James, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself if you don't mind. Because I would love to let people know exactly what's in store that day. I know a lot of people, and you guys know this, and I've said this in front of some of you in wellness programs with Sarah Regano. I've said this at the Artist Summit. I'm not the woo-woo guy. Like, I'm not like the woo-woo energy. That's not my thing. I'm very tactile. Meditation works for me because it settles my energy and calms my brain. The drum, the glass drum, oh my God, I could listen to it all day. I don't think about anything. My brain gets clear. Amazing. Some stuff is tactile. Some stuff is real. I love the moon stuff. Moon is so important. Like, that's amazing. Aradi is going to talk about that, but I don't get into every single piece. But I love this program because this program talks about it in a very unique way. And I'm gonna let James share with you what he's gonna be doing and what he's bringing to the table. And Stacey, if you don't mind, maybe talking a little bit about what you're gonna do as well since you're with us. Is that cool? Cool. So James, you go first. Oh, can't hear you. Oh, wait. Can you guys hear James? Stacey, can you unmute? Hi, Jeremy. Hi. Okay, we can hear you now.
I'm so popular on virtual streaming platforms that I have to switch the microphone from one to the other.
True.
Sorry about that, guys. Thank you, Michael, for today. Like, I'm so weepy. Thank you for today. It was amazing. I think, for me, I want to just talk a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about during the wellness program, because it's a little different than what we usually tackle. For me, I have found the pandemic to be one of the most rewarding times of my life. A time where I've been able to take classes, herbology, essential oils, things that I've never been able to do. I've been able to connect to people in a way that my travel schedule never allowed. I've been able to work on things for myself. But it also was really terrifying, because I was one of those people in February 2020. Jeremy and I were buying a house and moving forward, and I had huge contracts with 2 brands that I've never worked with. And I was like, 2020 is my year. And then I watched it all crumble. And not only were jobs and security and all of that taken away, but we also in New York City were hit so hard by COVID, and I'm still dealing with the aftermath of that. And so I think I had to really do a lot of work to be able to focus. And the first person that reached out to me was Michael. And that's kind of, we don't live in the same place anymore, don't see each other as often. I'm not involved in every TPG program the way I was because of my schedule, but to know that the first phone call I got was from Michael and saying, TPG is here for you, I'm here for you, it really set me in a different place. Because if I'm honest, at the beginning of this, I was getting 300 messages a day, 400 messages a day from people saying, what do we do? And so I felt a weight of responsibility to have some answers. And what I started to realize was I had to let go of my ego, and I had to look at how I was defining my life. And so for me, this pandemic has been about looking at my privilege and educating myself in different ways, and looking at the way that I build opportunity and platforms for other artists. How am I giving those opportunities through TPG, through the makeup show? How am I out in the streets being active at a year where it was more important than ever? How am I amplifying Black voices, brown voices, non-binary voices, female voices? And so when Michael approached me about wellness, I thought, this is something very different to me in December 2020 than it was in 2019. And so for me, wellness is a word. And Michael always says, well, you don't use the word wellness. I do. I just think that some people skim the definition of what wellness is. And at the Powder Group, wellness is an action-oriented word. When we talk about wellness, just like we talk about career or planning or goal setting or any of those things, it is about taking action. And so Michael and I have really been talking about the idea of mindful action, not just wellness, but wholeness. For me, it isn't just bubble baths and burning candles, although that can be a part of it. It is looking and saying, what are the tools? What are the instruments? What are the implements that I can use to be in the now and still look to getting next? And so what I am going to be doing is looking at the idea of wellness, but how you can be in the moment, and maybe look at alignment as well as a hustle. And we're going to be looking at forward momentum and manifestation, but in ways that are very tangible, in moments that are very teachable, in tools that are very tactile, and really looking at how you can be your best self by looking at occupational wellness, emotional wellness, physical wellness, and all of those pieces. So this is very different than anything I've ever done for the Powder Group, and it is very personal for me. But I think by taking those tools that I've used in my career because of Michael and TPG to build my career to a place where I want it to be, I want to approach my wellness and my wholeness in the same way. And I hope you guys will be as excited to do that as I am. I think the idea of ego for the artist is something that is kind of all-consuming. You have to find the balance and beauty in your ego. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I've been really excited about this. And I did pull a card to kind of say, like, okay, well, when I'm talking about this wellness program and what I'm going to be talking about, which is so different, are people going to respond to it? Because it's so different than my usual messaging. And Michael, of course, is always supportive with that. But I pulled a card from my artist deck today, and it says, in order to achieve escape velocity, we must learn to keep our own counsel, to move silently among doubters, to voice our plan only among our allies, and to name our allies accurately. And I thought that was such an important message meditation today. And so I did a batch of Memento Mori, because I thought the other thing I want to talk about in wellness next week is the idea of grief. How are we grieving all of those pieces that we worked so hard to put together for 2020 that are not there? The idea of working through grief with wellness, with wholeness, allows us to look at healing our heart, allows us to look at finding support and acknowledge and work through loss, trauma, anger, and all of those pieces. So I'm very excited. Sorry I'm so chatty, but once you take my mic off, you're in trouble. But I love you guys so much. And for me to be able to spend that moment with you on the 20th and look at wellness in a way that it relates to you directly, not just to your artistry, but who you are as an artist, and the idea of ego as a way to pursue passion and wellness and wholeness with all of those skills that we know work because we use them at TPG all the time. It's a real honor for me. And I want to say thank you, Michael, for including me. And thank you to so many people on this chat and my TPG family for making my pandemic probably one of the most prolific in my life. I mean, I'm poor as shit, but I am very well read through this.
Hey, I just want to say, I just want to thank you, because you've created so much programming for the Paddle Group community, and it's all been unique and all been special and all been different. And like I've been saying this, any of us could have phoned any of this in. We could have all just phoned it in and just done what we had to do. But James, you stepped up in a huge way and in so many ways. So thank you for that. Stacey, because you're here and because your session is super cool, can you take a quick moment to share with everybody what your session will be during the Wellness Symposium? You're unmuted on my end. Nope.
Stacey, I had to check my microphone for some reason with this session, and I had to make sure it was through the computer. Maybe check yours.
It says I'm muted. Well, I'll just tell you guys one thing while Stacey's trying to figure that out. So the 4 presenters again are going to be, and it's funny because I scheduled this because I was going to schedule this and then I didn't. And I was like, oh, now there's so many things. We have bridal. And I was like, no, I want to do Forward Together. I want to do it. I don't want to do it in January. I want to do it now. And then I was like, oh, then we've got Wellness. I'm like, oh no, that's perfect. Like, this is your career. This is your business. This is making your plan. Then the wellness part actually is about what I just said, take care of you, right? So the wellness piece is, it's 4 sessions in between 12, 11. I think we said it's 12 to 6. I'd have to check the time. But what's interesting for me is the difference, the variation on them. So, James is going to be doing a session called Looking Forward, Living Now, which is what he described. Arali is going to be doing a session on moon magic and what all that means. We're going to be coming up to, I think it's a whatever kind of full moon, and it's the winter solstice and all this crazy stuff. And then Sarah Regano will be closing the session with us. Normally this time of year, for the last 2 years, we've done a program called Clear and Reset, which was a program some of you have participated in, a live program. We didn't want to do that because it really does require a lot of the tactile stuff that you do in a room together. But she's doing a new program for us, a new session called Ignite. And that's going to be beautiful. It's about the winter solstice and moving forward. And she's going to do a virtual fire ceremony for us. So that's going to be great. Stacey, if you're unable to unmute, I will just explain what your session is.
I can hear
you. Oh, yeah, I can. No, I can't. All right, so Stacey's doing a session. I'm just going to read this. The title just says it all, and it's going to be amazing. The Art of Unraveling, Finding the Gift in Falling Apart. I kind of wanted to call the day that, like after she sent me the session, I was like, I kind of think we should call the whole program The Art of Unraveling. Finding the gift in falling apart. I'm not going to read you guys that program session description. It's online. If you go to thepowdergroup.com, the first banner on there is going to be the Wellness Symposium. That program is next Sunday, same as today, but a week later from 12 to 6. So, and I just noticed that the time on the website is incorrect. So it's 12 to 6, not 11:30 to 6. But, or whatever time it said. Just make sure it says 11 to 6:30. Was probably, we were thinking that's the creative side. The creative, what is it called? The creatives, industry intensive, the creatives. Anyway, now see, this is when I start talking too much. I'm like, it's 3:17. It's not 3:30 yet. I was like, I could talk for a while longer, but I do want to say that again, that session, the wellness program, we've done this wellness symposium in different ways. And this is the first time we're doing it digitally. That is going to be a program where we are going to ask you to have your video on again. It's a program where you're going to be able to share and engage at your level of comfort. So you're not gonna go around the room and ask everybody to say something. We were going to limit the program to 28 participants so we can make sure everyone's on the one screen, but we will probably get around that anyway. But want to make sure that anybody who needs this program right now, we're able to get you to participate in it. The other thing we're going to do is we need revenue so I can pay artists and stuff, but I want you to take this program. So if you can afford to pay the $90, please do. That helps the Powder Group continue our mission. If you cannot afford the $90 now, like I've done with some of our other recent programming toward the end of the year, if you would like to participate in the program with no money down and pay us in 2021, we know where you live and Kenya will find you and bother you till you pay us. But I do not want anyone to miss this program because of financial concerns. So, and any of you who have ever had money that you've owed the Powder Group for a program, you know we're not very good about asking for it. Like it might even be June and we're like, hey, Aaron, did you ever pay us for the Wellness Symposium? So just get your butt signed up and be there next week so that we can be there together to help keep moving forward. It's going to be an amazing session. Thank you, James and Stacy, and of course, Sarah and Aurelie for being a part of that with me. And that's it for today. So you guys have some homework. You got some people to message. You got some planning to do. And it's on you. Take the rest of this month. It's only 2 more weeks of December. Focus on you every day. Every day, find a way to focus on you. Sound good, guys? All right. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you all very much. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, by the way, as well. I meant to say that first. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And Mandy, thank you for all your help with social media this past couple of weeks. Mandy's been kicking it for me. Thank you guys. Bye.